Just first off, I just want to say the place is buzzing. We're all excited about the draft coming up tomorrow. I want to thank Scott and Matt and all the coaches and scouts for the preparation they did for the draft, and actually also on an excellent free agency. I think we did a pretty good job this year there. I also I want to thank Matt. I want to compliment him, thank him for the real progress toward winning this season. I want to compliment him on assembling a new staff that brings a lot more experience than we had with the old staff, including two former head coaches, Coach Wilkes, who's going to be in the DB room, Coach McAdoo, offensive coordinator. Campen was a great hire as offensive line. Pascaloni on the defensive line, and Tabor in special teams coordinator. I think all great hires, a wealth of experience. Excited about them. I think that just has to be recognized. It hasn't been recognized enough in the press out there. And look, I believe in Matt, and he has my full support. Just want to also just say one thing up front. On Rock Hill, we released a statement already, and we will respect the city of Rock Hill's request not to have a back and forth in the public about it. They requested it, we're going to respect it. Just generally, I think that if people look at the way we have put the free agency roster together, what we've done in the offensive line and other places, they should be excited going into the draft and where we are. One last thing, I just want to the players, I just want to say thank you for last season. I'm looking forward to this season. I think we should all be excited about it. To the fans, I would say the same thing, and I want to just thank you for your support last season and ongoing support. I know we're all passionate about this, and I know that sometimes that passion goes different ways, but I do appreciate your support. Anyways, with that, I'll open up for questions.
All right, thank you, Dave. We'll go ahead and start with David Newton, followed by Joe Person.
Hey, Dave, good to see you. I appreciate what you said about Matt, but they have had consecutive 5-win seasons. So how much does the 2022 season figure into his long-term security?
This is a new season, and I just went through the setup for the season, how I think we're set up as a team, how we're set up with new coaches. I'm excited for the season, like it's a brand new season. It just opens up. In my other world, every year is a new year, and this is a new year. I forget there's a saying, what was then is then, what is now, okay? And we're in the now, we're not in the then.
And understanding what you went through with a former owner here, what made you comfortable with pursuing Deshaun Watson, and how critical does the quarterback position remain for this team?
I'm not going to talk about players on other teams for a lot of various reasons. Quarterback position is always the most important position on the field. And as Scott Fitter has mentioned many times, we're always looking.
Thanks.
Hey, Dave, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Do you know how you would define success in this year's season?
Look, I think it's just a question of how we progress season to season, and I would look from progress from last season to this season, progress on the field, how we're playing, and obviously everybody's concerned about winning and wins and losses. That has to play into it, no doubt. But as what's most important is creating a foundation for future winning, and that's what we're going to look for, to the foundation from the first year to the second year to the third year. There's progress that we're going to get there. And, that's, I think, is the most important. And listen, there's no kidding or no I can say about it, but winning does play into to an extent.
Wanted to follow up, too. The last time we talked to you in this setting, you talked about wanting to find Super Bowl capable quarterback. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, Joe. I'm sorry.
So you had talked about establishing and finding a Super Bowl winning caliber quarterback. Do you think, which of the guys in this draft do you think are Full of that? And if not, are there any guys out there available via trade that you think might?
Listen, that's a question for Scott Fitters, first, not a question for me first. Just want to say one thing. I do think we have a very good quarterback in Sam Darnold, just as an aside. Wasn't your question, but I'll just say that. But again, you should really, when you see Scott again, ask him that question. That's his question, not mine.
Okay, let's go to Eric Spanberg, and then we'll follow to Indira Esquiva.
Dave, I know you said you didn't want to go into a back and forth, but just for a factual question on Rock Hill, the city manager of Rock Hill said that at one point that they were ready to go with bonds and the Panthers recommended that they not do that. Now, is that correct? Is he right about that?
Again, I'm going to respect Rock Hill here, okay? They made the request. I'm going to respect it. We want to sit down with these guys and have a conversation. I'm going to respect their request. I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
Okay. Let me follow up then. Just from a broader standpoint, Dave, with whatever you decide to do, whether you're in Rock Hill or you decide to build your training center in Pittsburgh or wherever you prefer to have it, what's the timeline in terms of needing that? Because I think you've talked about that being essential for the competitive side of the football operation.
Well, I think Scott, just to back up, I think it was yesterday, Scott went through things we've done on scouting and money we put into scouting with personnel and other things. So I think he went through that yesterday. We're constantly putting new equipment in. If you go down there, you'll see equipment. So we're constantly upgrading all the time. Okay, and we constantly will do that, not to have lose anything on that front. And we're doing it again this year. So we'll do what we need to do to make sure we have competitive facilities inside this building. And that's where we are. And you can see, if you really came over here, you can go talk to Scott again, and he'll show you different things we do every year. He talked to you about scouting yesterday, I think, right? And went into specifics. And again, a question for him, but I know, because I pay for it, that there is new things down there, okay?
But you don't plan a 50-acre training center complex headquarters and replace it with something in the stadium. Those are not equivalent.
Listen, again, we're going to make sure we have very competitive equipment here, okay? That we have no doubt that we can win with.
Thank you.
Indira?
Mr. Tepper, thank you for taking our question. With all due respect, this is on behalf of the people in Rock Hill, not the government. Do you plan to still have a facility here? And if not, what happens to the land and that building as well?
No, and I appreciate your question, and at some point we may get to it, and to answer that. But again, I am going to tell you, I am going to respect Rock Hill's requests. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to do it, but respect them. They made the request. I'm going to respect it.
They've said that you won't communicate with them, though. They've said that they haven't had communication from Tepper Sports and Entertainment.
Again, in our statement, if you read our statement, I think it did talk about us trying to sit down with them and have conversations at this point. And again, I'm not going to comment further than that. That's in our statement. You should read our statement again. I don't mean to be anything, but I'm trying to respect Rock Hill, and I'm sorry. But they had made the request. I'm going to respect it.
Let's go to Scott Fowler, then David Hodges, please.
Dave, let's go back to football then, and what you just said about Sam Darnold. That's interesting, given that last season was not good for him statistically. So what gives you confidence that you have a, quote, very good quarterback there?
Well, Scott, as you know, and I don't want to get into specifics of the thing, game-by-game analysis, that's something if we can go out and maybe get a couple beers uptown here and talk about over an hour. But, the first 3 games, as I recall, we won. We had this running back that has some talent that got injured that might have affected some different momentum that we had. I think his name is Christian McCaffrey. And then, as you saw the 4th game, the Dallas game, Sam was still there. And then we had a center that got injured. So there was a lot of different things on the team, and then Sam himself got injured. So there was a lot of different things that happened last year that hopefully will not repeat this year that do give me some hope. The other things, as you're aware, we have made changes, and again, I'd rather Scott deal with this than me, but we have made some changes during free agency on the offensive line that we think will lead to improvement there. And of course, we do have the draft coming up. And again, I would rather Scott answer these questions than me. Scott and the coach answer these questions than me.
Thanks. And then I did want to quickly follow up. We have not had a chance to ask you about why you changed Bank of America to artificial turf. So I wonder if you could address that.
Look, I think that question is a question of usage and putting, and I really want to talk about football, but I'll answer that briefly. We do have a soccer team that plays here. We have concerts here, and all those things are made more possible by the artificial turf. And from my own experience seeing overuse of a grass field in a former place, and I don't want to comment on another team, but I was associated with a former team, and seeing what poor condition that field was for overuse of on grass. I'm not going to let that happen here because I think that would have been more injury prone. To give the city I want to really talk about football, but real fast, to give the city the things we promised them as far as more activities, more concerts, more the soccer and things that we have delivered on, it was going to be a very difficult thing to keep the condition of a grass field, in a safe condition versus what we have. So it may not make absolute sense, but it is, from my perspective and my own experience, that's why that decision was made. And also the recommendation, obviously, I'm not an expert of experts. I'm not an expert. So.
Thank you, Dave.
Sure.
Dave, thank you for your time. Going back to development really quick, but not Rock Hill. Most recently, the Eastland project has academies and public fields that I know the city is really excited about. Do you have any other plans for Eastland as it stands right now?
Well, today we're going to talk about football. Okay, that's what this is, and I tell you what, I'll make you a promise that sometime in the near future, I don't know when that near future will be, we'll talk about soccer. But today's football. If you have a football or facilities on that, I'll be happy to answer you.
Okay, how about related to Bank of America Stadium and the development down there? Mark Hart had come to council, I think it was maybe in 2020, talk about the Uptown Entertainment District, which I think is a big part of your plan to bring people to Charlotte and make it more of a year-round activity. Any updates on what you're hoping for the development of that district?
When we talk about soccer, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll talk about entertainment then too. But just real fast, we bought a lot down there. We have our supporters section there that's adding to the richness of the city right now. That's a fact. That's happened. I'm not going to talk about it any more than that. That's very short. Please, I will have a soccer conference at some time, and we'll make it entertainment too.
Are those things not kind of round up together, though? Soccer, football, it's all part of a big project.
No, it is. But given that I thought people would want to focus on football. We're on the verge of the draft here. I'm happy to have those conversations, but I'd rather do them at another time.
Let's go to Jonathan Alexander, followed by Steve Reed.
Hey, David. Hope you're doing well. I have a couple questions for you. I know you want to talk about football. Wanted to ask though, what makes the most sense as far as a new headquarters, where you would like to take it to Charlotte? Make any sense? And I'll ask the second one after that.
Look, everything makes sense if we can find the right situation.
And also, how active do you plan to be in the draft process? And I know you're not making the sole decision, but do you have a preference on which position you'd like to see taken?
Look, we're going to take the positions that's best for the Panthers at the time, given the opportunity set that's out there when we pick and what the players that they're picking. There's a lot of work that goes on to it by Scott and his team, by the coach and the other coaches. There is, by the time we get to the draft, we go through every single probability most possibilities that can happen. So, and I think we'll be fairly prepared for when we get to our pick.
Dave, I know you're competitive, obviously. First of all, a two-part question. How difficult has this been to not, get to having the winning season and getting to the playoffs? And how do you feel about the overall roster makeup as it stands right now? What needs to happen to get to that level of being a playoff team, Super Bowl contender?
Well, I am a fan. Okay, so now I'm going to just talk as a fan. I don't like to lose. Who likes to lose? Okay, I want to win. Okay, but it takes time and it takes a foundation to create the foundation to win. I do believe that Coach Roll and Scott are doing a great job creating that foundation. I do think we have a pretty good, as I mentioned before, I think we have made improvements in the coaching staff. I think we have done a good job during free agency to fill holes. Obviously, we have some needs. We're going to try to attempt some of those in the draft. And listen, I'm fairly optimistic about the new season, given all the different things that have happened here.
Is quarterback in your eyes, though, the piece the main piece that has to happen?
As I said before, I think Sam Darnold is a very good quarterback. We're always looking to be the best we can be, and we'll continue to do that.
Let's go to Will Palachik, Ashley Mahoney, and Ellis Williams, please.
Dave, I know you only wanted to talk about football, but I do want to ask, just from a fan experience perspective, how do you feel like the infusion of what Charlotte FC has brought to the table can transfer over to the football fan experience and game atmosphere?
In football, and I'll talk about football a little bit because I can do that. In football, you're not allowed to have lights. You're not allowed to have sounds. Some of the things that are in that other experience that make that experience, you're not allowed to do. If I don't want to get into this, but if we ever reconfigured this stadium or did a new stadium, would it be great to have a supporter section like you can do in, it's not a concept in football necessarily, I guess, in the old Hogs of Washington. If I go back when I was younger, you had some of that there, but that would be an interesting concept to bring to football. But some of the other things are impossible by rule not to be able to have in football.
And just more broadly, having had an opportunity to oversee this now for a couple of years, what do you think is the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome in terms of not only bringing success for both properties, but also to make sure that you provide everything you want to the city as a whole?
Listen, there's a lot of different challenges, and I think one of the hardest things, and I've said it 5 years from the time Coach Rule was there, and maybe it'll be 6 years. I don't know, from the time he was hired. I think it's just building that foundation, having patience to build that foundation, trying to get fans to have patience for that foundation, to have sustained winning. I think, and it's hard to build that foundation. It's hard. I mean, listen, I have new appreciation for how stupid I am sometimes. Okay, just quite frankly, I shouldn't say that because people afterwards are going to say, "Why did you say that?" But listen, it's hard, and I have a certain amount of humility in this respect. And look, like every fan, every fan has an opinion, and I appreciate that. I have an opinion when I was a fan too. And I appreciate, one thing I do appreciate, though, just generally speaking, I appreciate the passion that people have for this football team out there.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Sure.
And to expand a little bit on what Will touched on, there's been a lot of patience with how quickly everything turned around. You told us back in December 2019, before we all dove into this pandemic, that things moved really quickly when it came to the other half of football. But did you expect to have to be this patient in regards to both the Panthers, FC, entertainment with concerts being delayed? Did you expect to have to be this patient after how quickly both of these processes moved?
Well, COVID changed a lot of things, quite frankly, all over the place. I don't know if that's your question, but I may ask you to rephrase your question because I'm a little, but COVID certainly slowed things down all over the place and changed the world a little bit in certain ways. Listen, I think that, probably for me, a little bit more deliberate, a little bit more patience just personally is needed, would have been needed back then. Things, like there was this saying, and I didn't make it up, I think it was Rome wasn't built in a day, and it wasn't, and neither is this team.
Speaking of you mentioned the many changes that came in terms of the coaching staff, the in-house side of the Panthers, but higher up, Nick Kelly is also, a couple of months into one, being a new father, and two, being the new right-hand man for you. How has he adapted to that role?
I think he's done a really good job in that role. Listen, there's always a little bit of getting used to something, but I think he's made a fast adaptation.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Tepper. Ellis Williams, Charlotte Observer. It's nice to virtually meet you for the first time. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
I hear you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Can you explain what your role is and what role you play in first pursuing a potential trade for a player and then ultimately approving that trade?
Well, look, it depends on the level of the trade. If it's, so there are trades that are done or that are, for, practice squad players or, those sort of things. I'm very little, if any, involvement in them. The more high profile the trades are, the more involvement I might have for them. I mean, there's a cash component in here, and I have to write the check. There's a saying I have here that, I do write the check for the money, but when we talk about, and I don't, not to get to explain this that much, but when we talk about the salary cap, there's a certain limit we can spend, and it's not my money. I kind of view it as the fans' money. So we have to be careful about how we spend the fans' money on players and such like that. But, the more higher the cost of player, the more I'm involved to a certain extent, because I have to be, because I'm writing the check at the end of the day.
Understood. So with that being said, can you elaborate on why you decided to approve the trade for Sam Darnold? I understand you just came out and said you still think he's a very good quarterback. If you could take me back to when you approved that, your thought process there.
Look, at the time that we made the trade, Sam's compensation was, moderate, and what the coaching staff and what the scouting staff thought at the time was, he's a very talented young man. I think was he second or third in that draft class, in the first round, and that he has incredible skills, and he still does have incredible skills.
Great answer. Thanks, Mr. Tepper.
All right, we're finished with first Joe Bruno, Brett Jensen, Renee O'Neill, and Will Kunkel will end it for us.
Hi, Dave. Are you committed to keeping the Charlotte?
I'm sorry, you broke up.
Are you committed to keeping the Panthers in Charlotte?
Listen, this team is, I've said often that this is the best place for the Panthers uptown, where the stadium is right now. It is the center of two states. We are the Carolina Panthers. And it is the most logical place for the Carolina Panthers to be is in Charlotte.
How much time do you think Bank of America Stadium has left, and are you eyeing the Charlotte pipeline that's across the street?
Look, we think about different possibilities. We have a feasibility study for the stadium that we're trying to finishing up, how long it can last and stuff. Listen, we'll see what happens when we get finish that feasibility study. Should be done in the next few months. What it would cost to keep this thing going for a few more years, and that's first things first, so to speak.
Thank you.
Dave, in terms of that, when you first came here, you said that, initially you wanted a stadium with a dome or retractable roof so that you could have the Final Four and stuff like that here. And then last year or a year and a half ago, you told us that you didn't want to do that because the weather's too nice here and the pandemic sort of changed that. So what are your thoughts on how a new stadium might look?
Look, I think that I'm going to say a couple of things. I think, Jerry Richardson did a great job with his stadium and the grounds. I mean, it's beautiful grounds in the stadium. So whatever we do here, here we're going to keep this place as pristine as It always has been, and we try to do that. And I can think when you come to the stadium, you can see what good shape it looks in, and the grounds look in. It's constant work. The stadium is aged, but we try to do that first and foremost. As far as the stadium, stadium, and I think what's eye-opening is the pandemic was a bit eye-opening, but look, it's one of the things when I was a kid back in Pittsburgh, I used to go with my grandfather to Forceville to games, and we used to sit in the bleachers for $1 when I was a kid there, and it was just great to sit in the open air and just have that experience. And I got to tell you, on any given Sunday, when you're sitting there in November in Charlotte, North Carolina, it is just gorgeous to be at this stadium. Okay, it really, really, truly is. Or if you were to, I don't want to mention soccer, but I will in this respect. Or if you were sitting here for some soccer game in the recent soccer games during the day, it is just gorgeous. And why do I want to, why would I, what I said originally was not with the knowledge of being here, okay? So it was said in haste. And that's what I said about being impatient. We had somebody ask me the question before. After being here and seeing how gorgeous it is here and how nice it is to come to the stadium and just sit under the sun and enjoy it and just like, frick, I mean, it's just nice. Why would you ever want to do something different? It's beautiful here, and it's just a great experience to be in here. It's like being alive. And so I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry if that was a little bit long-winded. I apologize for that, but yeah.
No, it was great. And the other thing, real quick thing about football, this is a very short question. Heard about a girder or a steel beam falling inside the bubble. What happened there, and how long will it take to be opened to back up?
I don't know the details. I know something got torn somehow. I don't know. I don't know what the status of it is, quite frankly. I know we were fixing it. I was under the impression we could use it, but we always want to be sure that things are safe. I do think it's being used right now. I think it is in use right now, to tell you the truth. So I don't know as far as big public, 500 people things in there. If we'd have something like that in there, but we are using the bubble now.
All right, let's go to Renee and finish up with Will Kunkel, please.
Hi, David. I'm Renee with CNG News in Rock Hill. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I just wanted to ask, are you hopeful that this project will move forward in Rock Hill, the facility?
I'm going to apologize to you, but again, I really am going to respect Rock Hill's request, okay? You read our statement, you read Rock Hill's statement. They requested it. We're trying to figure it out. We're just right now trying to just get together to talk and make those arrangements. And that's all I'm going to say on the matter. I'm just going to respect their request not to play this out at all. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, and then from you personally, if you can comment on this, but what would you want to say to the fans in Rock Hill that seem to be upset about this pause and about what's going on?
Just in the fans in York County and Rock Hill and South Carolina in general, we will be in South Carolina in different forms. We'll be down in Wofford. As far as supporting the community with charity and different activities, we will be down there. I don't know the exact schedule for Keep Pounding Day, but I'm sure we have things in South Carolina. I don't know the schedule, but I believe we probably have things in York County. I don't know if we have anything specifically in Rock Hill. We will be there. We will continue to support the community. I'm just laughing about some people in the community, what they say about me, but no matter what they say about me, we will be there for the people of Rock Hill, supporting the community in different fashions, in charity, and I think we'll probably be down in York County for Keep Pounding Day. I don't know specifically the schedules for South Carolina's, but I think Keep Pounding Day may be the 6th this year. It's the 1st, but I think we're doing it on the 6th. So. Just know that. And again, I'll leave it there at that. Okay.
Okay, and the Manchester facility with the soccer, is that still a go?
I'm not going to talk about things again that are concerning things that may be agreements with Rock Hill out of respect. If I'm going to respect, I'm going to respect. And so, you asked me something that we may do that I could answer. So.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Sure.
Hey, Dave, how you doing today?
Okay.
Good. First, I want to just clarify something you said, make sure we have it right on Rock Hill. You said, quote, "We want to sit down and talk with these guys." Is that what you did say? I just want to make sure.
Well, I don't want to do this, Will. I really hate to do it, but I do have my statement here, and I said that, we are prepared to sit down with the city and other interested parties to discuss the significant challenges ahead. We said that in our statement. It still stands. I said our statement is our statement, and so it's still there. And, I said, as I said, I'm going to respect them and not have a conversation about Rock Hill, back and forth in the public, in the press. So
That's fine. I just want to make sure what you said is what you said.
No, and then it was in our
Right.
statement, so,
Okay.
same thing.
When it comes to the draft, when you look at this, wanting to win now versus building that foundation, how do you weigh those two options when it comes to decision time?
Look, sometimes if we have made any mistakes here, if I have made any mistakes, I'll put everything is my responsibility at the end of the day. But it's a we. It is a we. It's a we here. This is a team. This is we from the football side, we're we from the business side, we're we from the players, we're we from the fans, okay, in that respect. Listen, there's only one real way you got to build something, okay? And if we have an expectation for sustained winning, we have to build it and have patience. And I know that's hard to do. I know it. I want to win now, okay? I want to win now. But I know that you still have to build the foundation, and there have been building blocks. You can point to some things, and I don't want to get into specific again, you talk to Scott, but there have been some things on defense that is just statistically there last year building. We're going to be building, and, we have built in free agency in particular ways, with the coaching people we brought online. I'm sure you've done your homework on them. We brought some quality people here, and on the personnel we brought on the offensive line, and things that we will be doing. So like I said, I'm excited about the new season. What was then is then, and what is now, and I'm ready to go.